New Dawn. My name is Joel Chacha. In studio, I'm joined by Honorable James Gakuya, Chair, Trade Committee of the National Assembly, also the Embakasi North Member of Parliament. Dr. Maina Kamau, an economist, and as well Honorable Nabi Nabwera, Lugari Member of Parliament and a member of the Public Accounts Committee. We'll be focusing on the grim economic outlook shortly, but still on our dailies. And now to Honorable Nabi Nabwera. More Gachagua allies grilled over protests. Mheshimiwa here yesterday spent at least the better part of the evening being grilled. And this, according to him, is a witch hunt. Targeted, of course, at the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. Now that it's believed ODM, which you are a member, has joined the government, could this be the whole plan? And now that there's a good relationship between Raila Odinga and the president, and perhaps the president feels he no longer needs the DP. What do you make of the tribulations Gachagua's allies have been facing?
Yes. First of all, I want to say to my brother Kakuya, a man I hold in high esteem, that we are in murky waters, Kakuya. We have been here before. I know at some point in 2016, while I was with my kids in their house, police came to pick me, claiming that I had disrupted a public function in Webuye and in Kakamega. So this is what Kenya is. However, I also want to note that on that particular day I was with Kaguya, we actually took tea together. We were joking, I usually pick his brains on what's happening in trade, and given that we were going in for that finance bill, so I asked him when we were taking tea, Kakuya, what is your position? And he mentioned a number of things to me. Now, if anyone says he was out there mobilizing, I think this one, I can stand up and say I was with Kakuya in the house. And I think house records would show that Kakuya was in the house. But I want to say this, my brother. I hope nobody is working on the premise that because of whatever they call the mongrel, I'm calling it mongrel myself, the mongrel called broad-based, that anyone would be wishing that he has some numbers. If he has, Nabi Nabwera's number is not one of them. Why is it not one of them? I thought with the advent of the 2010 Constitution, the era of machinations using security agencies, including NIS, ended. When I was a student at the university, you would wake up in the night, middle of the night, a special branch have opened your room, and they are in there accusing you of all manner of things. You are Kenya, you whatever. Who doesn't know? And I say this, in my own house, I know I had 3 agencies in my own house. And they even told me, as you are going to Parliament, know that we will be on the streets. Kakuya, I don't know whether even Kakuya knows my children or the people who stay with me, for him to have mobilized them. That is. Now, what do we believe? Ford Foundation, Uhuru. Now we are on DP having people close to DP having mobilized GNC. So who mobilized GNC? The other day I saw somebody saying it is Mutunga, Mother Karua, and another one said Kalonzo has taken up. So which is which?
There is a motion that is said to be tabled to impeach Gachagua on record. Would you support that?
I wouldn't. On principle. First of all, I must, on this national television, say that I'm very proud of Gen Z. They have helped us reclaim the country. We had lost the country, including parliament. We had lost parliament to executive. Fact. The reason I will not support this, because it is premised on tidying up political problems in a coalition. My friend, it is not my role to tide up the matrimony relationship between the president and his deputy. That's not why I was elected.
So you will...
No, not it. I was not elected. And please, let's not be distracted. What are the Gen Zs asking for? In fact, one of the things they're asking for, to stop that bad behavior, political bad behavior, which hand? They want proper governance. When there is proper governance, accept that there would be a shred of opinions in any issue you bring. I saw yesterday one of those who was pushing for this agenda of, he was talking to me there, and he was telling me, you saw the deputy president was also opposing the finance bill. I said, how did you know that he opposed in the cabinet? I said, the fact that the discussion in cabinet came out, that was a wrong cabinet.
Well, let's now have Dr. Maina Kamau on what has been happening as far as the deputy president is concerned. His allies are being, of course, summoned to the DCI to record statements. And, you know, the fact that the government still believes there are persons who funded the Gen Z's demos and they were not organic. What do you have to say about it?
Thank you very much, Joel. First, I would want to say I believe the demonstrations were organic because they were actually demonstrating against the harsh economic realities that we are experiencing at the moment. And it is very, very unfortunate that the leadership of the government, instead of pulling together at this time in time when we are on our economic needs, they should pull together so that we prevent further deterioration of the economy. As we speak, just the other day, 2 days ago, the CBK, the government actually borrowed about 30 billion from the CBK because it was unable to collect the necessary revenues to pay some urgent expenses. It has also been struggling to borrow locally because people are demanding high interest rates. So I think the government, they should actually start toning down the political temperatures so that the business environment can be able to really recover, for the government to be able to collect more revenues and for it to be able to really be able to support its budget.
Honorable Gakuya, today Parliament will begin vetting some, cabinet secretary nominees, and beginning 8 a.m., Kithure Kindiki will be there, followed by Deborah Baraza for health, Alice Wahome lands, Julius Ogamba education, and Soipan Tuya defense. What are your expectations, even as the vetting committee will start their grilling this morning?
Let me say, it is a process since the constitutional process. And the president has powers to appoint, but he has no powers to approve. The powers to approve or disapprove is vested in Parliament, in National Assembly. And in this case, that's why there is a vetting committee, which will proceed with that particular task to its conclusion. And my expectation is just one. Those members are good enough to make and determine. Because one, there was time for anybody from the public to present a memorandum in case you feel a certain candidate does not deserve to the appointed position. And if it does not meet the threshold, then there was that particular window to present memorandum towards that. And I am sure that members of that particular committee will go through those memorandum individually, as memorandum belongs to any member. And after the perusal, at the end of the day, and their their procedure of vetting process, then they will be able to make a decision. But their decision is not final, because even after the report of that committee, the full House will determine the approval of the whole list or the approval of individual members.
Do you take any issue
or
with
disapproval of some?
among the 20 who will be vetted? Do you take any issue with one of them?
Personally, I have no grudge with anybody amongst them. It's only that I don't have record of most of those who are new, but I have record of those who had been there before, because most of them were my colleagues in the House, and I have still worked with them during their tenure of being cabinet secretaries, and therefore I know their track record,
Well,
and I will judge them as their track record. Yes.
Honorable Nabin Abwera, the D-Day is here. The Moses Wetangula-led committee will be vetting the 20 beginning today. The list, that is Kithure Kindiki, Deborah Baraza, Alice Wahome, Julius Ogamba, and Sopan Tuya will be today vetted. Do you have an issue with any of them? And what are your expectations?
From where I sit, first of all, if I have an issue, I will deal with it on the floor of the House, because I have an opportunity as a representative of the people of Lugari to present my own issues on the floor of the House. Secondly, I have trust in the committee, our vetting committee of Parliament, in terms of undertaking the vetting process. I also want to caution them that the Kenya of today is not the Kenya preceding Gen Z revolution. It's a new Kenya, is a real-time Kenya. So they must address themselves to the Constitution, to the statute, and they must understand that as a vetting committee, they are undertaking a job on behalf of the House. And finally, I also want to remind them that National Assembly must re-emerge as a people's representative assembly.
Well, Dr. Maina Kamau, what are your your expectations, even as the vetting committee begins grilling the cabinet secretary nominees?
First of all, I think most of them will pass, all of them. And I would say I have a problem with most of them, starting with someone like Julius Ogamba, the one who is being appointed in the docket of education. I'm in that space, and there's so much that is happening in that space, from the issue of implementation of CBC, to the issue of TVET, to the issue of the funding model for university students. And actually, such a docket would have been better fitted for a person who has been in that space for some time. So I have heard President saying many times that he has some CSAs who do not know as much about the docket as himself. So I was expecting that the President would have actually appointed a practitioner in such a space, someone who has been in the education industry for so long time.
And not a lawyer in this case.
And not a lawyer in this case, because the future of this nation is actually vested in the lives and the careers of these young people. So if we mismanage them, which I feel we have mismanaged them for the longest, because the CBC process has actually had more than 3 CSs, from the issue of Magoha to the issue of Machogu, and CS Matiang'i was there. And I feel even at this particular moment in time, we are not so sure where grade 9, which starts next year in January, whether it will be domiciled in the existing secondary schools or in the existing primary schools. There's a lot of confusion. When it comes to the issue of CS Kindiki, I listened to him when he was in one of the local mainstream media, and he was being questioned why the police were very aggressive in combating the demonstrators. And he said he doesn't have understanding about the tactic and the strategy they use, because that question should be answered by the IG. And he is at the top of the administration there, only interested with the policy formulation. So I felt that when you are at the top, you should be able to understand all the activities, all the strategies, all the tactics that are going in your docket. Same goes to someone like Soipan. I would believe the president, when he is appointing someone to the cabinet, this person is coming to represent the entire industry. So it would be good if this person has a very good understanding of the entire industry so that he can advise the president properly.
Well, we'll be televising that right here on K24 and keep the feedback streaming in our social media platforms at K24 TV and as well on our SMS and WhatsApp numbers on the bottom of your screens. We shift gears now to the focus of the day, that is the green economic outlook. In a series of legal blows that have hit Kenya Kwanza's administration, the Court of Appeal has delivered another ruling declaring the Finance Act 2023 unconstitutional. A three-judge bench upheld an earlier ruling by the High Court that had suspended the implementation of the Act on similar grounds last year, citing violation of unconstitutional procedures and existing laws in its enactment. The ruling essentially leaves President William Ruto's administration with no taxation law after Kenyans rejected the Finance Bill 2024, with the fate of the now nullified act remaining in limbo. Timothy Simwa reports.
They say when it rains, it pours, and perhaps President William Ruto's administration can know this better. Before the dust settles on the rejected Finance Bill 2024 that occasioned anti-government protests, the Court of Appeal has yet again delivered another blow on taxation law. A three-judge bench has upheld a High Court ruling last year that declared the Finance Act 2023 in its entirety unconstitutional. The appellants in the case, Speaker to the National Assembly and the National Assembly, had moved to the Court of Appeal seeking to overturn a High Court ruling that declared the Act null and void. Housing levy, which has since taken effect, was among the prominent controversial clauses that saw a group of individuals, civil society members and political parties including Azimio Coalition move to court. The matter of the housing levy being unconstitutional has however been overtaken by events following the enactment of the Affordable Housing Act 2024. The doubling of VAT on petroleum levy by 16% from 8% also featured prominently in the opposition against the act and still made part of the demands by Gen Z, who forced the government to entirely drop the Finance Bill 2024. The court further held that the enactment of the Finance Act 2023 violated Articles 220 and 221 of the Constitution, which prescribed the budget-making process, and found the ensuing Finance Act 2023 deeply flawed in procedure. Additionally, the Income Tax, VAT, Excise Duty Act, Levies Act, Kenya Revenue Act, among others, were declared by the court as unconstitutional, having not been subjected to public participation. However, prayers seeking to refund taxes collected under the disputed clauses of the Act were dismissed by the Court of Appeal. For now, Kenyans are left pondering on the implications of the ruling, with many of the clauses already implemented. Timothy Simwa, K24 TV.
Honorable James Gakuya, I'm not sure if any government has ever found itself in such a crisis, for lack of a better term. President William Ruto, due to public pressure, did not sign the Finance Bill of 2024. Banking now that the Finance Act of 2023 would at least help. What next? How do we maneuver this? How do you react to the court ruling?
Joe, what you can call this is a double tragedy. Because the first tragedy was the withdrawal of the 2024 Finance Bill. It has its repercussions. Then the only hope was to lean on Finance Bill of last financial year, which is 2023-2024. It has now faced an axe that it's now totally expired. In this case, it tells you have to move back to the 2022-2023 finance bill. And there is no choice. Because if this is a country of rule of law, then the government has an obligation to adhere to the directions given by this particular judgment. The government has an option of moving to appeal to the highest court, the court of the land. And considering that the ruling of yesterday did not give a room for a particular time when this particular finance bill can take unless any other appeal comes in, then it tells you, as from yesterday, nobody is supposed to take a penny from public, which is part of the 2023-2024 finance bill. And therefore, anybody, that particular relief from taxpayer can be only be reverted when another decision in your life or when this finance bill can be brought back to life by the highest court of this land. And therefore, as we stand, we are in dilemma, and the government has no choice but to obligate to that. It must be ready to take this particular monster to where it can, because they have no choice. But this is the situation, and when the situation arrives to this level, you have to abide by the situation and find a way on how to move on. But you cannot move to the people. And what I would address is that, in fact, any government which is a civilian government must be always listening to the people and following the right things. If the Constitution is very clear that every stage of a law should be obligated to what we call public participation, we should adhere to those particular procedures. But if we think that actually we can put pressure and use force to force Kenyans to a direction, this is the implication and that's why the constitution of this country, I always say, it's a big marriage, because if you can master the judiciary, then this country will die. But if the judiciary will remain as flexible as it because of its independence, then it will learn. Because that is only where Kenyans can have a fallback. Otherwise, we may have what we call rods at the executive, who might want to take this country back to what we call dictatorship. But it's only our judiciary which can save this country. Because even the legislature can be muscled by the executive. And we have seen a various number of indicators. And this is where we are. That members can be bought, can be lined up to take up an option where you deliberately seeing by your eyes, your sense that you are taking the wrong direction, but you want to obligate to your master because you want to please the master. It's wrong. But I would say I am happy with the judiciary today that it can stand tall and stand with the people of Kenya.
Honorable James Gakuya, they are hailing the move by the appellate court. When we come back after this commercial break, we'll be focusing on the implications, what it means, and as well, how do we navigate this? Keep your views coming in via social media platforms at K24 TV, Joel Church, as well on SMS and WhatsApp numbers. I'll also be dropping in several voices. Of course, Ruth Kinyanjui, an economist, will be here virtually. Honorable Dr. Babu Owino, member of the Budget Committee of the National Assembly, and as well the LSK President Faith Odhiambo. You can't afford to miss that. Stay tuned.